You won't believe how one quiet dinner party became the biggest scandal in the luxurious world of New York's most elite. Picture this: a radiant pregnant wife, a stunning mistress brazenly wearing another woman's engagement ring, and a secret so jaw-dropping it could topple reputations overnight. But here's the real shocker: when the wife confronted her unfaithful husband and the daring mistress, she revealed she wasn't just a demure heiress. She actually owned the very company behind that sparkling diamond ring. Intrigued, strap in for a whirlwind of twists, betrayal, and unbelievable secrets that prove once and for all, real life is stranger than fiction. Vivian Cross had grown up with wealth beyond imagination. Born into a sprawling business empire, carefully curated by her grandfather, Edgar Wentworth, she had never wanted for anything. Her childhood home was a historic Manhattan brownstone, perched on the Upper East Side overlooking Central Park. Growing up in that environment taught Vivian to keep her composure no matter what the world threw at her. It wasn't a haughty behavior, it was survival. In a city where every flash of a camera could ruin reputations and whispered rumors had the power to shake corporate boards, wearing a confident mask became second nature. Vivian's engagement to Ethan Cross, a rising star in the financial world, seemed to solidify her place in New York's highest circles. People once gossiped that Ethan was only after her fortune, but over time, he'd proven to be intelligent, charming, and apparently devoted. He brought in big-name clients for private equity groups like Bain & Company and Morgan Family Office. With those credentials, naysayers appeared silenced. Vivian, convinced love had triumphed over cynicism, followed her heart. Their wedding became a social media sensation. The Cross-Wentworth union was akin to American royalty. The towering arrangements of white roses and hydrangeas at St. Patrick's Cathedral, the 400-person guest list of prominent business magnates, real estate moguls, and philanthropic figures, plus the $2.5 million spent on the after-party, ensured their nuptials remained a headline for weeks. But for Vivian, the real treasure wasn't the lavish ceremony or the press coverage. It was the ring Ethan gave her, a stunning, cushion-cut diamond set in a platinum band. The ring gleamed with a brilliance that rivaled the entire Manhattan skyline at dusk. There was an added personal twist. It came from Crown & Scepter, an iconic luxury jewelry brand. While the world believed Vivian had always been just a daughter of old money, she actually owned a controlling stake in Crown & Scepter. This was a secret known only to her closest confidants. The majority shares were quietly transferred to her when she turned 21, courtesy of her grandfather's trust. Even Ethan had never discovered that singular truth, believing that Vivian's main business interest was an old family estate company called Wentworth Holdings. 3 years into their marriage, Vivian's life took a turn for the better, or so she believed when she found out she was pregnant. She and Ethan had talked about a family and raising children surrounded by the best the city could offer. As her belly grew, she envisioned simpler days, family walks in Central Park, teaching their son or daughter the value of philanthropy, and cozy evenings reading bedtime stories. However small, cracks had begun to appear in their carefully curated world. Ethan was often away on emergency business trips. Late-night calls ended abruptly whenever Vivian entered the room. The smell of unfamiliar perfume lingered on his tailored suits. Even his once playful eyes now avoided her gaze during breakfast. She tried to chalk it all up to corporate stress or the demands of high-stakes deals. But a voice in the back of her mind, one she couldn't quite silence, told her something was amiss. The first tangible sign came during a quiet Sunday morning. Vivian had been organizing Ethan's shirts when she spotted a receipt for a sizable crown and scepter purchase. While it wouldn't be unusual for a wealthy man like Ethan to buy his pregnant wife a surprise gift, the receipt's date triggered alarm bells. The timing was off. Ethan had claimed to be in London for a private equity conference on that day, yet the receipt was from a Midtown Manhattan branch. Moreover, she recognized the collection code. That particular design belonged to a brand new line that had garnered serious media buzz. It was not something a reserved financier like Ethan would pick, unless someone else influenced him. Vivian tried to brush aside her worries, but her heartbreak was creeping ever closer. She remembered what her friend Hazel Bradley, a respected interior designer who had dated her share of unfaithful men, once told her, "The people who have the most to lose hide their secrets in the most obvious places." And that was precisely what Vivian suspected Ethan was leaving crumbs of evidence unthinking or uncaring if he got caught. She told herself she would find out the truth soon enough. What she never imagined was just how brazen that truth would be. The ring she cherished, symbol of their union, was about to feature in the most humiliating betrayal of her life. Yet no one could guess she'd turn that shame into her greatest triumph by revealing a single detail she had kept carefully hidden, that she was the real force behind Crown and Scepter. In the days following the discovery of the receipt, Vivian found herself struggling to remain calm. She didn't want to confront Ethan without proof. Her pride, so carefully nurtured, rebelled against the idea of appearing paranoid. But the seeds of suspicion had been planted. Shadows lurked in every corner. As a woman accustomed to handling crises, be it managing unexpected dips in her stock portfolio or dealing with cunning power players at black-tie fundraisers, Vivian didn't break down in tears or let her emotions spill. Instead, she reached out to a private investigator, discreetly recommended by her father's longtime attorney. His name was Leo McAllister, a man known for operating in absolute secrecy. His clientele included Hollywood actors, European royalty, and philanthropic giants who needed thorough fact-finding. If something was going on with Ethan, Leo would find out. During their first phone call, Leo was polite yet direct. "I don't take kindly to intruding on personal relationships," he told Vivian. "But your father's attorney assures me you have good cause to suspect you're being misled." Despite the tension swirling in her mind, Vivian managed to speak with her usual poise. "I want the truth, whatever it is," she said softly. "It's not about revenge. I just need answers." Over the following week, Leo got to work. Vivian's schedule was a flurry of charitable luncheons, philanthropic events, and board meetings at Wentworth Holdings. All the while, she discreetly checked her phone for messages from him. Late one Friday afternoon, as she was walking out of the Crown and Scepter workshop in the Diamond District, where she quietly oversaw product development behind the scenes, she got the first real update. A simple text from Leo read, "We need to talk." Tonight, Vivian's heart hammered. Something had been found. They agreed to meet at a subdued jazz lounge near Times Square, far from the usual spots on the Upper East Side where prying eyes might recognize her. She slipped into one of the private booths, the sounds of a saxophone drifting through the smoky air, and waited. Leo arrived precisely on time, a slim man wearing a tailored gray suit that spoke of quiet affluence rather than ostentation. He sat across from her, ordered a sparkling water, and then leaned in. "I have photos," he said. "Your husband, a younger woman. They're meeting at the Royce Hotel on 57th. Vivian's breath caught in her throat. The Royce was a place known for high-profile events and for its discreet staff. She braced herself, as Leo slid a sealed envelope across the table. She didn't open it right away, unwilling to face the images in a public setting. Instead, her eyes glistened with tears she refused to shed. "How long has it been going on?" she asked. "Hard to say. My guess is a couple of months at least. They meet once a week, maybe more. From my observations, she's fairly open about being close to him." "Does he give her gifts?" Leo nodded. "Expensive ones. I have receipts from your family brand, Crown and Scepter. Large sums withdrawn from one of his personal accounts." The store manager at the Midtown location recognized Ethan's face. "He's done several purchases recently." Vivian's nails dug into the plush velvet seat. She wasn't surprised, but the confirmation stung. Her relationship had been a charade at least for the past few months. And to make matters worse, Ethan was using her own company's products to woo another woman. A swirl of emotions collided: anger, disgust, heartbreak, and a razor-sharp determination not to let Ethan reduce her to a sobbing mess. She asked the question, swirling in her mind. "Who is she?" Leo inhaled. "Her name is Rosalind Lane. She's a socialite, runs in some of the same circles as your philanthropic events. She hasn't made a big name for herself, but she's known among certain tabloids. She's also rumored to be financially ambitious, if you catch my drift." That was all Vivian needed to know. Some younger woman who saw Ethan as a ticket into high society. Vivian clenched her fists. She pictured the ring Ethan had given her, the shining gem from Crown and Scepter, and recalled how it once symbolized a vow. Now that vow felt worthless. She took the envelope, setting it in her purse. "Thank you, Leo. Keep following them. I need more details. But be careful. I don't want this going public." Leo nodded. "I'll be in touch." When he left, she sat there for another 30 minutes, finishing her tea in silence. The band played a gentle melody that might have been romantic under different circumstances. Now it felt hollow. Her phone buzzed. Ethan was texting that he might be home late. Work emergency, of course. Vivian closed her eyes, exhaled, and told herself that soon enough she would confront him. But first, she needed to make sure she had every advantage. She didn't just want to catch him, she wanted to show him that betraying her was the biggest mistake of his life. Vivian found herself increasingly torn between heartbreak and resolution. Every glance in the mirror reminded her that she was 5 months pregnant. Ethan's unborn child lived in her womb, and she wasn't sure how to reconcile the fact that her husband was secretly with another woman. When she finally looked at the photographs that night, each image felt like a dagger through her chest. Ethan stood with Rosalind outside the Royce Hotel, his hand placed intimately on her back. In another shot, he handed her a small silver gift box that bore the Crown and Scepter logo. The final picture was the most damning. They shared a laugh in the hotel lobby, leaning in with a closeness that left no room for misinterpretation. Her composure cracked. She threw the pictures across her bedroom, sobbing so hard that her chest ached. After several minutes of tears and heartbreak, she forced herself to take a breath, to be the calm, collected woman her society demanded. She was Vivian Wentworth Cross, a name that commanded respect in boardrooms and charity circles alike. Yes, she felt betrayed, but she would handle this the same way she handled everything else, with strategic precision. Her father, Gregory Wentworth, was an imposing figure who seldom showed emotion. He had built up much of the Wentworth fortune after inheriting a fraction from Vivian's grandfather. The older man, now in his 70s, had occasionally tested Ethan's loyalty, but each time, Ethan managed to charm him. Vivian debated whether to confide in her father, but hesitated. She worried about triggering a scorched earth campaign that might overshadow the entire family name. The Wentworth brand was centuries in the making, and the slightest scandal could cause irreparable harm. Later in the week, as she was leaving the doctor's office after a prenatal checkup, she got a call from a longtime friend, Beatrice Wong, a Hong Kong-based businesswoman she had befriended during a philanthropic retreat in London. Beatrice's father was a major investor in international trade, but Beatrice spent her time championing women's empowerment. Her voice, usually bright, carried a concerned edge. "Vivian, is everything all right? I saw Ethan at the Peninsula Bar with someone last week. It looked suspicious, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions." Vivian's throat tightened. "I'm handling it," she managed to say. Beatrice's sigh crackled through the phone. "You don't deserve this, especially not right now." Vivian thanked her for her concern, and after they hung up, she felt an odd sense of comfort. She wasn't alone. People she trusted were noticing Ethan's behavior too. It wouldn't be long before the rumor mill started churning if it hadn't already. She needed to act swiftly. That evening, she texted Ethan that she'd meet him for dinner near the Crown and Scepter boutique in Midtown, an innocuous suggestion that she wanted to see the new display windows. Predictably, he had some excuse about staying late for portfolio reviews. Vivian didn't press. His avoidance merely confirmed her suspicions. What Ethan didn't know was that Vivian had arranged a business dinner with the store manager at Crown and Scepter. In a private dining room at Le Jardin, one of New York's most exclusive French restaurants, she sat down with Anthony Franco, the boutique's manager and a loyal confidant who had worked at the brand for over a decade. "Your husband has a new buyer's profile with us," Anthony explained after they ordered their courses. He flipped through a binder that documented the store's top clients, a courtesy he extended only because Vivian was unbeknownst to most the majority owner. "He's been purchasing items from the Celestial Aurora collection, our latest line featuring rare pink diamonds and signature filigree. Gorgeous pieces, but pricey." Vivian nodded grimly. "I want the specifics, dates, amounts, which designs." He handed over a neatly typed list. Her eyes scanned the entries: a rose gold pendant, a platinum tennis bracelet, an emerald-cut diamond ring. Not just small tokens, but significant investments. This wasn't a fling. Ethan was lavishing thousands, if not millions, on Rosalind. Anthony leaned in concern, etched on his face. "Vivian, if you need any changes to store policy or transaction flags, let me know. We value privacy, but we can also discreetly manage certain clients if needed." The kindness in his voice made her realize how lucky she was to have loyal allies. She placed her hand on her abdomen, feeling the faint stir of the baby. It was a reminder that she had so much more at stake than just her pride. She forced a smile, determined to exude the same confidence that had made her a force in high society. "Thank you, Anthony. For now, keep these transactions quiet. I'm handling this personally." That night, as she drifted to sleep, the plan began forming in her mind. Ethan was playing a dangerous game, flaunting his secret affair in circles close to hers. Sooner or later, their paths would cross, and when they did, Vivian would hold the winning card, the power to show him that the ring on Rosalind's finger not only belonged to Vivian first, but came from the very jewelry house she owned. The day she confronted them would be a day neither Ethan nor his mistress would ever forget. By the following week, rumors were swirling faster than the swirling snow on a crisp December evening. Ethan's discreet affair was becoming a poorly kept secret. A small circle of high society acquaintances who had witnessed suspicious interactions quietly buzzed with speculation. Privately, some of them whispered to Vivian, offering half-hearted condolences. Others stayed silent, evidently unwilling to choose sides until the truth exploded into the public domain. But in the hush of her penthouse living room, Vivian prepared for a confrontation that would leave no room for doubt. She didn't want to wait until tabloids turned it into front-page scandal. She wanted to control the narrative, ensuring that when the confrontation happened, the truth landed like a thunderbolt, and she would hold the upper hand. Timing was everything. One evening, she discovered that Ethan and Rosalind planned to attend a charity gala at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The event was sponsored by the Winters Foundation, raising funds for underprivileged youth art programs. As a known patron of the arts, Vivian herself had been invited weeks ago. Initially, Ethan feigned disinterest in going, claiming a business conflict, but a well-placed contact at the foundation confirmed he had RSVP'd with a +1 named Miss Rosalind Lane. Vivian's face hardened at the news. So they would flaunt their relationship publicly. It was both insulting and fortuitous. The stage was set for Vivian to make her move. Leading up to the gala, she took care of two important details. First, she made sure to buy a custom gown from Françoise Gautier, a top Parisian designer known for dramatic silhouettes. Vivian's dress would be a captivating midnight blue creation, adorned with subtle crystals that caught the light, symbolic of her readiness to dazzle and dominate. She'd have the kind of presence no one could ignore. Second, she arranged a private meeting with her father's attorney, Mr. Townsend, to ensure her assets, including her shares in Crown and Scepter, were secured in a manner that left no risk. Betrayed or not, she wasn't about to let Ethan's potential divorce claims sabotage her legacy. She was protected under stringent prenuptial clauses, but caution never hurt. Townsend assured her that Ethan had no direct claims on her businesses. If Ethan attempted to file for divorce or claim any portion of her company, he would hit an impenetrable legal wall. Still, the emotional toll weighed on her. She was pregnant, exhausted, and bracing herself for a showdown. At night, she'd feel the baby stir in her womb, and tears would prick her eyes. The child was innocent in all of this chaos, but if being strong meant ensuring a better future for her child, one free from Ethan's duplicity, then she'd do it 1,000 times over. The night of the gala finally arrived. A swirl of limousines lined up outside the Metropolitan Museum's grand staircase. Glittering chandeliers illuminated the museum's halls as society's finest, decked in designer tuxedos and gowns, mingled over champagne. Vivian entered alone, her posture, regal head held high. Camera flashes erupted in a frenzy. No one expected her to arrive because Ethan had implied she was resting at home due to her pregnancy. She offered a warm smile to the photographers gliding into the main atrium, where sculptures and classic paintings provided a sophisticated backdrop. Within moments, she spotted Ethan at the far side of the room. He was deep in conversation with a group of art patrons, but it was the figure at his side that caught everyone's attention: Rosalind Lane, a striking woman with cascading auburn hair. She wore a tight, crimson gown that screamed for the spotlight, her lips curled in a smile that seemed to revel in forbidden attention. Vivian inhaled slowly, steeling herself. She kept a friendly mask in place, greeting acquaintances, discussing new philanthropic projects, and occasionally patting her growing belly as people asked about her pregnancy. Outwardly, she exuded serenity. Inwardly, her nerves sang with tension. She knew she would eventually make her way to Ethan and Rosalind, but she wanted the timing to be perfect, public enough for clarity, yet contained enough to avoid an unseemly scene. A hush spread through a small circle of onlookers as Vivian approached them. Ethan froze at the sight of his wife, evidently not expecting her presence. The flicker of panic in his eyes was satisfying. Rosalind, by contrast, seemed unsure, though she had the audacity to keep wearing a bright, arrogant grin. Vivian's gaze shifted to Rosalind's hand. On her ring finger sparkled a diamond that glowed under the chandelier light, a design she recognized from the Crown and Scepter Celestial Aurora collection. It was reminiscent of Vivian's own engagement ring, though with a slightly different cut. They exchanged polite greetings, but the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Vivian forced an elegant smile. She felt the power of every heartbeat, knowing that in mere moments, everything would change. Everyone watching sensed the storm gathering in her presence. Vivian, Ethan said, trying to sound composed, I didn't think you'd be here. You told me you were resting tonight. A photographer snapped a quick picture, capturing the exact moment Ethan stammered in front of the museum's antique marble statue. Vivian offered the man a practiced social smile while ignoring her husband's question. Then she shifted her gaze to Rosalind. I don't believe we've been formally introduced, she said, holding out her hand. I'm Vivian Wentworth Cross. Rosalind hesitated, but finally took Vivian's hand. Her grip was light, as if she feared contamination. Rosalind Lane, she replied, voice dripping with insincere politeness. Ethan's business associate. Vivian glanced at the ring on Rosalind's finger, arching an eyebrow in feigned curiosity. That's quite the piece you're wearing. Is it from Crown and Scepter's new line? Rosalind's eyes lit up as she raised her hand, letting the diamond catch the light. Yes, it's their Celestial Aurora ring. Isn't it stunning? Ethan picked it out for me. He has excellent taste. A hush fell around them. Guests within earshot angled closer, straining to hear the confrontation they suspected was imminent. Even the museum staff glanced nervously at the group, aware that the tension in the air was drastically unbefitting a classy charity gala. Ethan's face grew red, and he cleared his throat, trying to regain control. Vivian, we should talk in private. But Vivian held her ground. Her heart pounded, but she'd never let it show. Oh, this is perfect, she said. Her smile so sweet, it sent chills down Ethan's spine. I've been meaning to talk about the future of Crown and Scepter. The brand is so close to my heart. Rosalind raised a skeptical eyebrow. Why would it be close to your heart, dear? Because your engagement ring is from there. It's lovely, I'm sure. A few snickers rippled around them. People recognized a catfight in the making, though it was more complicated than that. Vivian didn't break eye contact with Rosalind. Yes, I do have a ring from Crown and Scepter. So do many others. But I have another connection to it, a deeper one. Ethan's jaw tightened. He could sense that something big was about to drop, though he had no clue what. He hadn't even realized that Vivian was a major shareholder, let alone the controlling majority owner. With an almost theatrical timing, Vivian took a small step forward. She locked eyes with Rosalind's ring. Then, speaking clearly enough for all to hear, she said, I own Crown and Scepter. The statement fell like a thunderbolt. A chorus of gasps echoed through the onlookers. Rosalind's eyes went wide, flicking from Ethan to Vivian in confusion. You what? She managed to stammer. Vivian held her chin high, voice steady. It's a family business, in fact, passed down to me through a special trust, so it's quite fascinating to see you wearing a ring from my personal brand. especially one that is suspiciously similar in style to my own engagement ring. Perhaps you thought Ethan's money gave him the right to bestow it on whoever he pleased. Ethan tried to intervene, his voice a desperate whisper. Vivian, let's handle this calmly. We can talk about it at home. You don't want to make a scene. But she refused to be hushed. A scene, her face radiated an icy composure. I'm just letting everyone know about the kind of man you are. Gift-giving is one thing. Secretly romancing another woman while your pregnant wife is at home is quite another. And using my own company's jewelry, that's not only insulting, it's tragicomical. Rosalind looked as if she wanted to melt into the marble floor. Her ring, once an object of pride, now felt like a brand of shame. She tried to laugh it off. I had no idea. Ethan just told me he found it in a boutique he liked. Eyes narrowed. Vivian replied, I'm sure he did. But from now on, you might want to check where your gifts are really coming from. At that, Ethan reached for Vivian's arm, a pleading gesture. She pulled away deftly. The hush around them grew silent as the tension peaked. Vivian could sense phone cameras snapping pictures capturing this scandalous revelation that would rocket through New York's upper crust by dawn. She let the moment breathe before delivering the final blow. As for you, Ethan, you're welcome to continue your business here tonight. I, however, have no further interest in your company. She paused, a glint of sadness and triumph mingling in her eyes. And for the record, if you plan to buy any more gifts for Miss Lane, you should know that my name is on every piece of official Crown and Scepter paperwork. If there's anything worse than betraying your wife, it's betraying one who already holds all the cards. With that, Vivian turned on her heel and strode away. She heard the murmurs, the gasps, and even the faint sound of Rosalind calling Ethan's name, demanding an explanation. But it didn't matter. Her statement was made. She had publicly exposed the affair. Now she had to deal with the aftermath and decide what to do next with her failing marriage. The Met Gala fiasco tore through New York's social scene like wildfire. By the next morning, tabloids ran headlines screaming, "Pregnant Wentworth, heiress owns ring, company husband's mistress, caught wearing their jewels." Business columns weighed in on the surprising revelation that Vivian Wentworth Cross was the previously unknown majority shareholder of Crown and Scepter. Blogs debated how Ethan could have failed to know his wife's deeper involvement with the brand. Vivian woke to a deluge of calls, texts, and social media notifications. Some messages were supportive, praising her for standing up for herself. Others were from gossip mongers, fishing for more scandalous details. She kept her phone on silent, ignoring everything except calls from her immediate allies and essential business partners. Tension lingered in the penthouse as she waited for Ethan. He hadn't come home after the gala, no surprise there. She wondered if he'd spent the night explaining himself to Rosalind or seeking refuge at a friend's loft. She half expected to feel heartbreak or regret, but instead, she felt an odd sense of relief. The secret was out. The facades had crumbled. Late in the afternoon, Ethan finally arrived, looking as though he'd aged 10 years overnight. His normally impeccable suit was wrinkled, his tie loose, and dark circles rimmed his eyes. The moment he stepped into the living room, Vivian felt her pulse quicken. She was both furious and strangely serene. No tears, no dramatic meltdown. She was past that stage. "Vivian," he began, his voice hoarse. "I'm sorry. I know I messed up. Let me explain." She lifted a hand, cutting him off. "There's nothing to explain, Ethan. I have photographic proof, eyewitness accounts, and you practically announced it at a public gala. You were with Rosalind." She struggled to keep her voice even, not wanting to betray how deeply he'd wounded her. He ran a hand through his hair. "I was stupid. It happened and I lost control. It never meant anything, I swear. She was a distraction, a fling. I never wanted to hurt you." Vivian swallowed, her voice cold. "But you did. And it's not just me. It's our child you disregarded." Ethan glanced at her swollen belly, genuine remorse flickering in his expression. "I understand if you want me out. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." She laughed, a hollow sound. "How? You can't erase what's been done. The trust is broken. I never thought I'd turn into a cliché, the pregnant wife with a cheating husband. But thanks to you, that's exactly what I am." He sank onto the nearest chair, his head in his hands. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Outside, the winter sun was setting, bathing the apartment in a muted orange light that felt more melancholic than beautiful. Then, with a heaviness in his tone, Ethan said, "I know there's no easy fix, but I want you to know I didn't mean for it to get so out of hand. If you decide to leave me, I won't fight you. You'll have everything you need." Vivian let out a bitter sigh. "I already have everything I need, Ethan. That's the part you failed to understand. You were so busy proving your worth on Wall Street that you forgot who your wife is." She paused, steadying herself. Her heart pounded with a swirl of emotions, anger, sadness, and an icy determination. "I'm leaving for the Wentworth estate in the Hamptons for a while to focus on my pregnancy. You can stay here or check into a hotel. Frankly, I don't care. But you and I, whatever we had, it's over." He nodded, eyes downcast. "I'll sign whatever divorce papers you want. Please, Vivian, just please know I'm sorry." She closed her eyes, forcing herself not to cry. She didn't want to hear apologies. Not now. Maybe in time she could find forgiveness. But betrayal like this demanded space to breathe. And she had a child to protect, physically and emotionally. Without another word, she stood and walked toward the bedroom. She grabbed an already packed suitcase. She had prepared it that morning, anticipating his arrival. Then she left the penthouse, glancing one last time at Ethan, who sat there broken. In another life, she might have felt pity. Now she felt only the beginnings of her own freedom. A crisp winter wind greeted Vivian as she arrived at the Wentworth estate in the Hamptons. The sprawling mansion, built in a neoclassical style, overlooked the Atlantic Ocean. Waves crashed against the private stretch of beach, providing a soothing soundtrack that helped calm her raw emotions. She felt a pang of nostalgia stepping into the marbled foyer. She had spent parts of her childhood here, listening to her grandfather's stories of old Manhattan and watching her father host glitzy summer parties. Now, the estate offered her sanctuary in a time of crisis. She made arrangements to stay indefinitely, sending the staff into a gentle flurry of activities, warming the rooms, preparing healthy meals suited to a pregnant woman, and ensuring every comfort was provided. Rather than seclude herself in her old bedroom, she chose the corner suite facing the ocean, wanting the sea's constant presence to remind her that life moved on, no matter how tumultuous the storms. Her first few days were spent in relative solitude. She informed close friends and family that she needed time alone. Even her father respected her decision, though he insisted on sending his personal driver Alexander to ensure she could get to appointments or errands discreetly. Vivian gratefully accepted the help, but asked that no one intrude beyond that. One afternoon, while resting on a chaise lounge in the sunroom, she received a call from Anthony Franco, the Crown and Scepter manager. She almost let it go to voicemail, but decided to answer. "Anthony, hello," she greeted, trying to keep her voice poised. "How are you holding up?" Anthony asked gently. "The tabloids are relentless. If there's anything we can do at the boutique, let me know." Vivian swallowed, forcing a measured tone. "I appreciate it, but I'm okay, really. Just taking some time to breathe. Anthony hesitated before continuing. I don't know if this is the right moment to bring it up, but we have an event next month, an exclusive showcase of the Celestial Aurora collection at our flagship store. Top clients, some celebrities, and press are invited. I understand if it's the last thing you want to deal with right now, but as the majority owner, I thought you should know. It'd be a strong statement if you made an appearance. Vivian gazed out at the ocean. The last thing she wanted was to stand under more paparazzi flashes. But another side of her recognized an opportunity. She had built her identity in philanthropic circles, overshadowed by her father's legacy and overshadowed by Ethan's transgressions. This scandal ironically thrust her into the limelight. Now that the dust was settling, perhaps it was time to assume a more public role with crown and scepter, revealing herself not merely as an heiress, but as a leader. She inhaled, "Let's not cancel anything. I might do it, but please keep it quiet." No official statement yet. Of course, Anthony said. Take care of yourself, Vivian. That's priority. When they hung up, Vivian set her phone aside. She rested a hand on her belly, feeling tiny flutters of life. She whispered to the unborn child, I promise, I'll give you a world where you never feel ashamed or unloved. Days turned into nights, each passing quietly. She found refuge in simple pleasures, reading by the fireplace, meditating on the veranda, strolling along the beach. Through journaling, she started sorting her tangled emotions. She wrote letters to Ethan she never planned to send, expressing her pain, anger, and lingering confusion. Sometimes tears stained the paper, but gradually the tears lessened. She pictured a future where she was a single mother balancing her philanthropic passions with the responsibilities of parenthood, forging a new identity apart from Ethan. Early one morning, she received a surprise visitor, Beatrice Wong. She arrived unannounced, escorted by Alexander from the local airstrip. Beatrice swept into the sunroom with her characteristic warmth, carrying a bouquet of lilies. I couldn't stay away, she declared, pulling Vivian into a gentle embrace. I've been worried about you. Vivian, grateful for the company, led her friend to the sitting area overlooking the ocean. Over cups of lavender tea they caught up. Beatrice, with her worldly business sense, offered perspective. Look at it this way, Vivian. You have a fresh start, and you own a top-tier jewelry brand. Women around the world would kill to be in your position. Minus the heartbreak, of course. Now you can shape your destiny. Vivian smiled, tears glimmering. Thank you for being here. The heartbreak is real. But you're right, I don't have to hide anymore. Maybe that's what I needed, a push to claim my place. They walked along the beach, discussing strategies for how Vivian could leverage her newly public ownership of Crown and Scepter. Beatrice even floated the idea of launching a philanthropic initiative tied to the brand, a scholarship fund for underprivileged women who wanted to enter the jewelry design or business fields. Turn your pain into purpose, Beatrice said. You'll benefit, and so will countless others. That night, with the ocean's lullaby in her ears, Vivian realized that the pieces of her old life would never fit back together the way they did before. But in the wreckage of her marriage lay the seeds of a new beginning. She might be pregnant and betrayed, but she was also strong, wealthy, and determined. She had the power to rewrite her own story, and that was precisely what she planned to do. A month later, a sleek black limousine pulled up outside Crown and Scepter's flagship boutique in Midtown Manhattan. The sidewalks buzzed with excitement. Reporters, paparazzi, and curious onlookers crowded behind Velvet Rope's cameras, poised to capture the evening's show. After rumors circulated that the once elusive Vivian Wentworth Cross would publicly appear, the event turned into a media spectacle. The boutique itself was breathtaking, with a modern glass facade illuminated by chandeliers that refracted dazzling prisms of light onto the sidewalk. Inside, the Celestial Aurora collection took center stage, displayed on custom stands shaped like swirling galaxies. It was a bold, artistic tribute to the brand's heritage and innovation. As Vivian stepped out of the limousine in a fitted emerald gown, reporters clamored for a glimpse. She felt a flutter of nerves. This was her first major public appearance after the scandal. But she harnessed the same poised confidence she'd relied upon at countless charity galas, only now she was stepping forward not just as an heiress or socialite, but as a formidable businesswoman. Anthony Franco greeted her at the entrance, looking dapper in a tailored suit. "Welcome, madam," he said with a respectful bow. "The press is expecting a short statement from you before you tour the displays." Vivian gave a gracious nod, then faced the cluster of microphones and flashbulbs. Questions flew at her from every direction. "Mrs. Cross, are you divorcing Ethan Cross? How are you dealing with the betrayal? Is it true you've always owned Crown and Scepter?" She lifted a hand, quieting the cacophony. "Good evening. I'm honored to be here tonight to celebrate our new Celestial Aurora collection. Crown and Scepter has a proud legacy of craftsmanship, and I'm thrilled to publicly confirm my role as majority owner. Regarding my personal life, I ask for privacy as I navigate these changes. My focus tonight, and moving forward, is on the artistry and the future of Crown and Scepter. Thank you." With that concise statement, she gracefully moved inside, not allowing further prying. Applause broke out from attendees, a show of support that buoyed her spirits. She was quickly surrounded by well-wishers from famous actresses looking to loan pieces for upcoming award shows to business journalists seeking interviews. Maintaining a warm demeanor, she spoke about the design inspirations, the ethical sourcing of diamonds, and new philanthropic initiatives she planned to implement. Near the back of the boutique, a roped-off VIP area offered champagne and hors d'oeuvres. That's where she found Beatrice, who winked playfully at her. "You look like a goddess up there." Vivian laughed softly. "I'm faking confidence at least half the time, but it's working." Beatrice handed her a flute of non-alcoholic sparkling juice. "Not faking, just harnessing what you've always had." Guests meandered through the showcases. Among them, Vivian recognized Hazel Bradley, her friend from interior design circles, who offered a supportive hug. "Proud of you, girl," Hazel whispered. All the while, cameras flashed. The night was a triumphant statement. Vivian Wentworth Cross wasn't vanishing into the shadows. She was taking ownership, literally, of her future. But a quiet ripple went through the crowd as a new figure entered the store. Heads turned whispering. Vivian felt a momentary jolt of nerves. It was Ethan. He looked haggard, guilt written across his face. She noticed how people stepped aside, giving him space, unsure if they were about to witness another public altercation. He approached Vivian, cautiously ignoring the curious stares. "I had to come," he said softly. "I wanted to support you." She kept her chin raised. "I didn't realize you'd be here. I'm not sure this is the place for personal conversations." He nodded, eyes full of contrition. "I know. I just wanted to say that I'm proud of you, your success, the brand. You deserve it all." A swirl of photographers tried to angle for a shot, but Vivian put up a hand, signaling them to back off. She and Ethan moved to a quiet corner by a display of vintage-inspired necklaces. Despite her lingering anger, she felt a twinge of compassion. The father of her unborn child stood before her, a broken man. "I'm not here to beg," he said, voice trembling. I just wanted to be here for your big night. I know I lost your trust, but you're carrying our child, and I want to do right by you, both of you." She studied his face, searching for signs of sincerity. "I'm not ready to forgive you, Ethan. Maybe I never will. But I appreciate your honesty." A lump rose in her throat. She cleared it quickly. "If you truly want to support me, please respect my boundaries. I won't let you tarnish this evening." He nodded, stepping back to blend in with the crowd, respectfully keeping a distance. A few guests stared awkwardly, but Vivian shrugged it off. She had bigger things to focus on tonight, like forging an image of empowerment and resilience that overshadowed any drama. For the rest of the showcase, she glided among VIPs, graciously discussing the brand's signing deals and establishing valuable connections. The entire time, she felt an undercurrent of exhilaration. She had emerged from a devastating betrayal with her dignity intact. This was her moment, one she'd never relinquish again. In the weeks following the Crown and Scepter showcase, Vivian's life took on an almost surreal quality. She received invitations to speak at women's leadership conferences, praising her bravery for leaving a high-profile philandering husband. The brand's sales soared. Some saw it as scandal-driven curiosity. Others admired Vivian's newfound public image as a strong, independent figure. Regardless, Crown and Scepter's profits climbed to record heights, validating her decision to step into the spotlight. She still resided at the Wentworth estate in the Hamptons, traveling to Manhattan only when necessary. On each visit, she consulted with Mr. Townsend about the divorce proceedings. Ethan had agreed to a peaceful settlement with no contesting the prenuptial agreement. Legally, it was simpler than anticipated, though emotionally, it remained a tangled knot. One brisk February morning, Vivian arranged a private gathering at the estate. She invited a small circle of friends, Beatrice Wong, Hazel Bradley, and a few others she trusted implicitly. She also included Anthony Franco, who represented Crown and Scepter. Over a lavish brunch, she shared her vision for the brand's philanthropic initiative. "I want to establish the Celestial Scholarship," she announced, referencing the name of their latest collection. "It will fund education for young women pursuing degrees in jewelry design, gemology, and business. I want it to be part of Crown and Scepter's legacy, my legacy." Her eyes glistened with passion, and the group responded with enthusiasm. Beatrice proposed an international component, suggesting a partnership with Hong Kong and European jewelers. Hazel offered design input for a potential charitable showroom in the boutique. Anthony pledged full support from the brand's executive team. This synergy, this sense of purpose, fueled Vivian's optimism. Where her marriage had fallen apart, new alliances were forming, built on mutual respect and shared goals. The heartbreak wasn't gone. She often woke up in tears, remembering better days, but she was determined to channel her pain into growth. Later, she walked with Beatrice along the estate's winding garden paths, the bare trees hinting at winter's fade. "I'm proud of you," Beatrice said, looping an arm through Vivian's. "This entire ordeal could have broken you. Instead, you're building something new." Vivian smiled, touching her belly. "I hope my child will see this and learn resilience. That's all I really want." Beatrice squeezed her arm. "They'll be proud to have you as a mother." That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Vivian found herself on the private beach, the wind carrying the scent of salt and sea. She let the cold sand sink between her toes, protective of her baby bump beneath her wool coat. A movement in her peripheral vision startled her. She turned to see Ethan approaching cautiously, hands in his pockets. "How did you get in here?" she asked, tension creeping back. He raised a hand, a truce-like gesture. Alexander let me in. I asked him politely, I'm not here to upset you, I just wanted to see if you'd talk to me for a moment. Vivian took a measured breath. 5 minutes. He nodded. I talked to your father's attorney. We're finalizing the divorce papers. I'm returning to the city, packing up my things from the penthouse. But before everything is finalized, I wanted to say, I'm deeply sorry. I hurt you, and I hurt our future family. I deserve the consequences. She remained silent, letting him continue. He took a few steps closer, gaze dropping to her belly. I'd like to be involved, as a father, if you'll let me. I know I've given you no reason to trust me, but this child, it's our child. Vivian closed her eyes, a swirl of conflicting emotions flooding her. We'll take it one step at a time, she finally said, voice trembling. I'll never deny you the chance to be a father. But that doesn't erase what happened. We'll need boundaries. Ethan nodded, tears forming in his eyes. Thank you, Vivian. I promise I'll respect whatever boundaries you set. For a moment, they stood there listening to the waves roar. Then quietly, Ethan turned and walked away, leaving her alone in the fading light. She wrapped her arms around herself, feeling both the chilling wind and the faint warmth of hope. The man she loved was gone, replaced by someone who had betrayed her. But maybe they could still find a way to parent their child without tearing each other apart. She stayed on the beach until the sky darkened, letting the ocean's endless rhythm steady her heartbeat. Like the tides, life flowed forward, ever-changing, and she had no choice but to adapt. She was determined to rise above the wreckage, forging a future for herself and her child that was as bright as any diamond in Crown and Scepter's collection. Spring arrived in the Hamptons, bringing fresh greenery and milder winds that coaxed Vivian out for morning walks. Near the end of her third trimester, she relished the gentle exercise, feeling it helped prepare her for the birth. With each day, her belly grew, reminding her of the new life soon to enter the world. The divorce was finalized with minimal drama. Tabloids momentarily flared up, shockingly quick settlement. Did Vivian Cross pull strings? But attention soon drifted to other scandals. Vivian's stoic silence on personal details cooled the media frenzy. She took the high road, offering no public condemnation of Ethan, who quietly retreated into the background. During this time, Crown and Scepter soared. Stores reported rising sales. The Celestial Scholarship, launched with a modest endowment from Vivian, garnered positive press, overshadowing the old scandal with stories of empowerment. Vivian also took a direct hand in design discussions for a new collection called New Dawn, symbolizing hope and renewal. Collaborations with philanthropic partners flourished just as she'd hoped. As her due date neared, she surrounded herself with supportive friends. Beatrice flew in for a week, bringing gifts from Hong Kong and offering to help with the nursery. Hazel visited daily, reorganizing the estate's interior to make it more baby-friendly, less formal, and more comfortable. Anthony sent a stunning custom-made cradle, its design echoing Crown and Scepter's refined aesthetic. She rarely saw Ethan, but on a mild April morning, she found him pacing the estate's entry hall, holding a gift-wrapped box awkwardly. The staff had let him in, aware he was still the father of Vivian's child. He offered a polite greeting. I should have called, but I wanted to bring something for the baby. He held out the box. Vivian hesitated, but curiosity nudged her. She opened the wrapping to reveal a soft plush blanket embroidered with the child's initials, MC. Ethan cleared his throat. I know we haven't decided on a name yet, but I thought about Matthew or Madeline, depending on if it's a boy or girl. Tears prickled her eyes. It was a thoughtful gesture, though it came from a source of deep pain. She forced a gentle nod. "Thank you. That was kind." They sat in the sunroom for a few minutes, discussing hospital plans, potential visitation schedules, and how best to co-parent once the baby arrived. Vivian was firm but reasonable, making it clear that he could be part of the child's life if he remained respectful and followed the boundaries she set. When he left, she felt a surprising calm. Maybe forgiveness was too strong a word, but acceptance seemed possible. They would never be the couple they once were, but perhaps they could be civil, even supportive, for the sake of their child. A couple of weeks later, just before dawn, Vivian's water broke. The ensuing hours flew by in a whirlwind of contractions, hospital beeps, and medical staff rushing around. Beatrice was by her side, as was Hazel, holding her hand through every wave of pain. In the final stretch, Vivian felt a surge of determination that mirrored every trial she had faced. The betrayal, the public humiliation, the heartbreak. She was stronger now. She could face anything. Then, a new piercing cry echoed in the delivery room, a baby's first breath, a sound that changed Vivian's life in an instant. With tears rolling down her cheeks, Vivian cradled a tiny girl in her arms, her heart exploding with love. Beatrice pressed a comforting hand on Vivian's shoulder, and Hazel dabbed at her own eyes. "Welcome to the world, little Madeline," Vivian whispered. In that moment, all her pain and triumph blended into a single realization. She was reborn too, as a mother forging a new chapter that promised both challenges and unimaginable joys. In the end, Vivian Wentworth-Cross's story is one of fierce triumph over betrayal. She discovered her husband's affair only to flip the script and reveal her secret ownership of a global jewelry empire. But more importantly, she reclaimed her dignity and forged a path forward to build a life shaped by her own vision, not by scandal or heartbreak. Now, with her daughter Madeline in her arms and the sparkling future of Crown and Scepter in her hands, Vivian stands as an inspiration to anyone who has ever felt crushed by life's darkest moments. Thank you for joining this whirlwind journey of opulence, secrets, and resilience. If you found the story gripping and heartfelt, please remember to like this video, share it with friends who love drama and redemption arcs, and subscribe to this channel for more captivating stories. Your support keeps these tales alive. See you in the next one.